So this is a demonstration of the post bed split bar double needle post bed machine that I have. I have a Titan TN 1765. This is essentially a Juki 1760 class. I'm trying to get some more information to figure out exactly where it falls in the line, but it's about a 1760 class. So it has 2 needles here. Try to get a little closer. Sorry for the shaky camera. So it's a double needle, left and right, and because this is a split bar, if I have a selector here to tell the machine which needle I want to stay up. So if I want the left needle to stay up and I'm going to sew with the right, I push the lever over to the left side, and the other side is, it's got an R for right, so I push it to the right, and it will only sew with the left needle. When I'm going to sew with both, I put it in the middle. And I just got the machine, so I am very, very new to this. So all of its quirks are my own because I know really very little about it. I mean, I know a lot about it, but it's my first time sewing with this sort of machine. It threads very much like a Juki 1541 or the Juki 1341 style machines, except it's got double needles, so it's got double pathways. So, I followed how that looked in the manual. I also have the needle gauge because it's 2 needles. I had the company I bought the machine from, I had them install a 3/8 inch gauge, so the distance between the needles is 3/8 inch. You can do all different sorts of gauges, but from what I understand, it takes a little effort to change them out. So for now, I'm just going to leave it with a 3/8 and see where it goes, and then I'll learn how to change it out to a different gauge if I need it. I've already used the machine to sew some of this bag that I'm making. I'm making a tote. Let me turn the camera. So making this tote, this came as a kit from Weaver. So I have some flaws just because, the machine is new. Like, I overstitched the pocket, but whatever, it's mine. I don't care. One of the reasons why I bought this is because my husband deals with cars, and so trying to do upholstery for cars for him, this machine will be a lot easier to work with. But for handbag making, I really like my seams flat, and I like the look of that double stitching, and this allows for that to happen where everything is even, and it makes things less complicated. So the first part was sewing these 2 pieces together, then flattening it out. I put a ribbon in to keep it so that way the seams don't come apart, and then double stitch down. The right side, my tension was off. I fixed it, I hope, now, and we're going to see what happens. But yeah, so the next part of this bag that I'm going to do on the camera, I'm not going to make the whole bag on the camera because that's really not important, but I want to show how sewing the side seams closed and then sewing the side seams open, which is what I want to make with this particular bag, how it is easier to do than on the cylinder arm machine. I have a cylinder arm machine. I have a Texo 2750. I also have a Juki 1341. They're mostly the same. One's in another location than where I'm at right now. So, but for this, to sew these side seams open, doing one side is no problem. But what you get once you have the bag sort of, once it becomes closed, the 2 sides are closed. The other side is a lot harder on the cylinder arm. So I'm hoping on this post bed and doing this video will show that the second seam will just be easier, and again, having both of those seams open flat the way I want it to be. So here we go. Oh, one of the features on my machine, or 2 of the features on my machine, is I have a pneumatic foot lift. So push a pedal and the foot goes up. I also have another pedal that allows me to do reverse. It's on the left side of the big pedal to make the machine move. to the left of that I have another pedal for doing reverse. So on the right side I've got the airlift, on the left is the reverse. You can sort of see it move a little bit. That was an add-on for the machine. Personally, I can't wait to figure out how to do it on all my machines. I think that this is a pretty fantastic feature. Because this is a double needle and this is threaded double needle, to sew, again, I don't know how to do it differently, but I'm sure there's some trick that I just need to learn. But to sew only using one needle and not getting a thread jam in the bobbin, I got to remove the bobbin. So I'm going to take the bobbin out on the side I'm not using. I don't want to have a thread jam there. And I'm also just going to unthread the needle. Yeah, this is an extra step, but that's okay. I don't really mind the extra step if it gives me what I'm actually looking for in my project. Okay. All right. So what I did is I set the machine so that way just the right side needle stays up, so it's on the R. See that? I gotta lower it a little bit. So, okay, to sew with the left side only, you push the bar over to the right side saves up. That's not intuitive, just so you know. To me, intuitive would be if I want to sew with the left, the lever should be on the L, but that's just the way this is set up. And to get it to sew with both needles, you put it in the middle. I don't know why it says O instead of maybe a B, but you know, whatever. And then, of course, the left is the other side. So in this case, I'm only going to sew using the left side needle. I took all the thread out, and now I'm going to sew. I'm going to actually sew both sides, and then I'll sew them open the way I want them to look. The machine does have a hump jumper built into it at the top, like a lot of the other machines are, but I haven't used it yet. I don't know what to do. I have lots to learn. But I do know the tricks on how to deal with all of this from just using my normal Texo. So, to sew the seams open right now, I would be able to do it easily. I could do that on my cylinder arm, no problem. But that's not really where this machine shows at its advantage. I want to be able to open these seams up and stitch both sides. This I can do on my I can do one side without any problem on my cylinder arm. I can't do both on my cylinder arm. So hopefully hopefully, after doing this video, you know, it's gonna take me some time, I will be able to show you that it can be done with relatively no fuss. I'm gonna go off camera for a little bit. I have to, you know, flatten these seams out. I have a few things I need to do off camera. This is just too thick for me to press with my fingers, so I'm gonna use the brayer. But my next step is I'm gonna just sew this other side. Okay. So the two sides are done. I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to open up one of the seams, flip the bag, open one of the seams, and then get it ready to sew. So the bag is now right side out. It's going to have to be flipped again, but I want to sew from the outside. So I'm gonna, you know, go ahead and stitch down on both sides of the bag. I'm gonna show you how I'm doing that using the post bed. So to get it, you know, to get the machine back to where it needs to be, I'm going to rethread the needle for the right side because, you know, as you know, I took it out last time. So release. So I'm gonna be sewing with both needles. So I put it back on I put the selector switch back on the O. The needles thread, the right side threads very similar to the cylinder arm machines and industrial machines. The left side needle is opposite because the scarf of the needle needs to go toward the hook, and the hook on this is opposite of each other. So I'm putting the left side needle up so I can pull the bottom thread from the bottom. With the hope I don't get a thread jam. And I didn't. Yay. Okay. So both needles are threaded, and now we're going to start sewing. The machine does come with a tape guide that I had installed here, but it was in my way when I was trying to sew the just using one needle, so I took it off. I'll figure out an option on how to get the tape up so I don't have to put it on the machine ahead of time. When doing these seams, you know, it's nice to be able to have that tape in there to make sure that the seams don't spread and does a little bit of reinforcement. So, because, you know, I don't want this thing to fall apart. So I just taped in the tape for now. I just manually taped it in. All right, here we go. We're going to start stitching. And the way I'm going to sew this you know, it's, the bag is fully, you know, I mean, essentially this is a bag. The only thing that needs to be done is the quarters need to be sewn shut, which I'll do later. I can't do it right now because again, I'm sewing the seam down here. But the bag is fully closed. It's a tube. I won't say fully closed, but it's a tube. And sewing this would be, I won't call it impossible, but it would be impossible for me to do. I'm sure there's more skilled sewists out there that could do things, but for me, this would be impossible. So with this machine, it should become possible. So, and this is my first time doing it, so I have no idea what the outcome is going to be, but we're going to give it a shot. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm lining up my seam with the center edge guide. So there's the center guide here. It's a compensating guide, so it does move up and down. I am putting that right on my seam so that way I can sew evenly from both sides, and that's the seam that I'm going to follow. I'm going to go a little slow just to make sure I'm not getting stuck anywhere, you know, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so now that everything is in place, I'm going to make sure that my needle is sewing, you know, both at the same time, make sure it connects both. And now I'm just going to place my needle down so it sort of holds everything in place. Okay. And from the bottom, just making sure there's nothing in the way. This is the issue that happens with the cylinder arm for me a lot, is that something ends up creeping up and then I've sewn over it more times than I can count. So this way, now that I have this sort of ability to have this post for it to sew over, it shouldn't, nothing should get underneath there. Just making sure it's hitting the holes where I want them to be. Here we go. And I'm not doing anything other than just making sure my seams are open down here at the bottom. Now I'm just going to sort of just pull my sides apart. It's getting a little tight. I'm done. Now we're reverse. Again, that would have been impossible on my cylinder arm. Just impossible. For me. There's other skilled people out there that are way more skilled than me. But I was able to sew that seam nicely. Looks like my tension might be just a little off. I think my needle might be a little big for this top material, but it's right for the bottom, so first bag, first problem. Not a big deal. Now I'm going to sew the other side and finish this bag up. Okay, so here you have the tote. Again, you know, I still have more work to do, but I was able to do the French seams or faux French seams on both sides of the bag. And I think I did a pretty good job for my first day of using the machine. I have a lot to learn about it, but I think I did pretty good. So you can see the tape there. I was able to sew over that tape to keep it in place. And so far 100% of this bag has been made on this post bed. The bag is not designed to have a lining, but I want to put a lining in here, so I have it already cut out. It's just a cute little mermaid lining. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to just do a drop-in lining and sew it in, but yeah. So I'm going to leave the video on, but I'm going to fast forward while I sew the bottom corners together. I'm not going to talk anymore until I'm finished with the bag. And just to show that the machine can handle the same material as my cylinder arm, I have the lining is just this cotton, and it's interfaced with a heavy woven interfacing, and this will work no problem in the machine. just have my very basic lining, no pockets, nothing fancy about it. I cut my side seams down. I could have stitched them just the same that I did on the exterior, but I really didn't want to go that route. So now my job is just to fold the top seam down and fold the top seam down and then do a top stitch, and I'll do the top stitch on this machine as well. Did I fucking... Without realizing it, I top stitched the bag while the video was paused. I apologize. I know you guys wanted to see me do that. But I'll show you, just basically how it happened. All they did was, just do the normal stuff, making sure that the straps and whatnot just stay out of the way. This was far easier than I thought it was going to be. I would say it's comparable to what the cylinder arm does and how to top stitch a bag using the cylinder arm. I suppose it might be different if you have a cylinder arm on a pedestal, but my cylinder arm is on a full-size table. So to me, this was no different than what I would normally do on my Texo. My Texo 2750 or my Juki 1341. This is no different for me, but maybe if I had a pedestal, it would be a little bit different. I'm not sure though, because all I had to do was just make sure that the bottom stuff I'm sewing just didn't get up here, and the post sort of keeps it out of the way. And I just stitched it going around just like I normally would, keeping clear of, making sure that my seams, my thick seams, I don't have any issues with those, keeping my straps out of the way and sewing it all the way around. It turned out fantastic. I'm super excited. I am so sorry that I didn't top stitch that on camera. But there you go. So this bag, it came as a kit from Maker's Leather Supply. They sold, every now and again they sew bundles of kits where it's a pattern, they do all the work with the skiving if you want them to, they cut it all out, they do all that, and then they just send you the kit. So it came with all the exterior pieces. It also came with either brass or copper rivets, but I didn't have snips to cut them down, so I couldn't use those. I just used the regular 9mm rivets that I had here that I pressed in my arbor press. And of course I put the lining in. The bag did not come with a lining. This was just something I had in my stash, and I think it came out pretty nicely. I stitched the sides doing that French seam. I have a lot to learn on how to use this machine. It's going to take some more patience, but I definitely have the patience to do it. I am so excited with being able to use this bag, use this machine to make this bag, and I really look forward to seeing what I can create with it. I will be making a table for this machine and other post bed machines. I have an idea on what I need to do for this machine, and I just gotta fabricate it, and I'm gonna work on that. And once I have that fabricated, then I'm really looking forward to seeing what the possibilities are for this machine. And having a table on here with my strap guide so I can do flat surfaces. I can do my straps on here with less fuss. I will be able to do side seams the way I want, as you saw how I wanted to do it. Top stitching with this. I really think this machine, it very well could replace my Texo 2750. Maybe. No guarantees. I really love that machine. That Texo has taken me a long way. I've made some really great things on it. But there's just something about this machine that has tickled my fancy, and I'm really excited that I got it. I am going to do some more research about it. I'm going to figure out how to do the left, right, and both, how to stitch with one needle but leave it still threaded. I'm going to watch some double needle sewing videos and see what tutorials out there. But this machine is very new to me, so you got to see me fumble around with it. If you do have any other questions, please let me know. I'll do what I can to answer. I highly recommend calling an industrial sewing machine distributor if you really want some technical answers. I don't have those sort of answers, but I just know that I bought my machine from Central Sewing in Alberta, Canada. They shipped it down to me. I'm in Los Angeles. I would absolutely buy it again. I do know that Sunny Sewing sells a very similar machine, the Thor version of it. Texo sells something similar, but from what I've seen on their website, it doesn't have the split bar, but maybe they do, and I just couldn't find it. This is a copy of a Juki split bar double needle post bed machine. I hope you enjoyed the video. As I said, have a lot to learn. I'm super excited by it and what this machine can do, and showing it off in more videos to come.